Hello guys, good morning. Okay, so I have my 32 ounces of apple juice that I have to drink, which is exciting. Because today I'm gonna start the gallbladder cleanse, which is very exciting. And you have to drink for 4 days in a row 32 ounces of just regular apple juice from the store because you want the malic acid to soften up those gallstones. So, I found something pretty groundbreaking last night. I found Jan Smith is a targeted individual on YouTube, and her and I have very similar targeting. And she talks about the moon being fake, and I had never really noticed it until I moved to Florida. And I thought maybe, okay, maybe the moon's just different in Florida. Maybe it's just a different angle I've never seen it at or whatever. But we always had these like big, bright, fake looking moons that would disappear. And I could never figure out like what the hell was really going on. It was very strange. And so Jan had done a video. Now I caught mine last night, but the night before last, I noticed that the fake moon was, outside my window. It was way lower than normal. Don't mind my nails. I'm playing with what color I want to do, so I'm. So I find that it's outside, like outside the window over there, and I find that when this thing is up, I'm getting radiated into high heaven. It's like an intense amount of radiation. And so I noticed that the night before last, it had disappeared. But it had happened on other occasions where I would tell my uncle, I'd be like, Jimmy, look at this. The moon, it looks crazy. And he's like, yeah, kind of. And then like 2 hours later, it would be gone. Like, where did the moon go? So I tried to catch it last night on an iPod. And my focus more, instead of getting the exact details of the moon and how fake it looked, because I can't, not with that camera, it's not going to happen, but I just wanted to show how it all of a sudden will like be super bright, and then it dims and dims and dims, and then a car will always come out. I didn't catch the car, but came out from over there, went back where they're running all this stuff at. And then all of a sudden it like gradually just gets lower and lower and lower and dimmer and lower, and then it's gone. Now I caught this, I believe I started taping a little bit after 3 a.m. and then I think by 3:30 it was gone. The moon was gone. It disappeared. So I have tapes and screenshots and everything. I'm going to make a quick video of it. And but yeah, it was it was really weird. So basically, my level of harassment is very strange. It's not like other people's harassment. It's from a different, well, I mean, it is like some other people's harassment, but it's not your run-of-the-mill normal. Mine has to do with the secret space programs, the super soldier programs and things of that nature, because I have been up for retrieval, I guess, and they want me for breeding purposes and other things. They exploit my psychic abilities and that. So basically it's, if you had seen Cabin in the Woods, you'll know that these people run almost like occult style games, and there's archetypes involved. And someone of my archetype, there's something called the Persephone Ritual. And this is basically to appease the old gods. And if you've seen Cabin in the Woods, this might be a bit of a spoiler report, but what they do is literally simulate everything around contestants, like the Hunger Games. That's why targeting sometimes seems like the Hunger Games. Um, and so they basically have each archetype represented in all of our targeting, and I'm finding that mine is the Greek and Roman god system, and I'm encountering other people who are also players in the system based on their archetype, and apparently there have been maybe overlays of Greek gods and goddesses put within our personality, and that's why there's a lot of us that like there's a women who I run into who have the Athena Sophianic wisdom, and we are basically run into the ground, and but never really killed, but just continuously tortured all the time. And it basically, it's like bringing the virgin goddess queen. You don't physically have to be a virgin, but there's the archetype of the virgin, their goddess, and we all basically have been run into the ground. We've all exposed child trafficking, human trafficking, been victims of it ourselves. Usually that's how it goes. Because a lot of times, this is my theory, a lot of times with the MK Ultra trafficking, you're not aware that you're being trafficked. You don't really know. But there's something inside you that kind of wakes up, and you get a kick that you need to expose it. You need to look into this. And it's it just starts out as almost research, and then you start to find out about yourself more, and you find out about situations, and you realize that you've been prepared through the years by knowledge. And Athena is the goddess of wisdom, and the people that are not the people that are under MK Ultra but are like the willing sex slaves, or the ones that had turned into like the sex pot, I guess, are under Aphrodite, and that's the archetype, and that's a totally different one. And generally, they're not known for being wise. So what they want is us to stay in the Aphrodite archetype through trauma, chaos, and just stay in line. They want our personalities to be split, because the Aphrodite archetype is easily controlled by the world. She's controlled by men, by materialism, by lust, by greed, I guess you could say. I know that the Athena archetype and the Aphrodite archetype are natural enemies, and that's why like I run into a lot of the girls from the cult, and they're still in the Aphrodite phase, where they're all about pleasing the man that they work for, and getting high fives from men, and they're generally like the female traitor types, and they hate the Athena types because they are pro-woman, and they want sisterhood. They want to work together. They want to have friendships with women and unity with other women. They don't want to be the female enemy. So there's a lot of, even historically, I'm finding out, there's a lot of sabotage of, actually Aphrodite sabotaged Athena as often as she could because she was jealous. And there was also, even though, Aphrodite is the goddess of love, Athena was Zeus's most powerful child, and she was born by parthenogenesis, and she wasn't born of like natural, like of sex, like half mortal and a half god. So she's inherently more powerful, and basically what scares the people that are running this game is because if you're in the Aphrodite phase, you're still controllable. You're still a beta sex slave. You're still, naive and under the control of somebody. Well, Athena couldn't be controlled by anybody but Zeus, which is the most, the father, basically. Now, this is archetypal. It's not necessarily Christianity or anything, but she, because of the fact that she was born in Parthenogenesis, she was a full god, like an actual full god. And she only really answered to Zeus, and basically she was allowed to maintain her virginity and make her free will choices, not to, to basically remain the virgin goddess. Whereas the Aphrodites don't really have that kind of I would say freedom. There's always a lot of trickery around Aphrodite in getting some of her suitors. I know with Hermes, Zeus helped Hermes, basically manipulate her into being with him. And I know that even with Hephaestus, same thing too. So there's definitely a fear of these people, of a once Aphrodite like myself when I was younger, changing archetypes and going into Athena, because we can't be controlled. And that's kind of the problem that we have right now, which is why it's almost like if I don't want to be part of the archetype that is that that they want for me, they're going to try to force it on me. So they will do MK Ultra programming, trying to reprogram the beta sex kitten in me. They will have rumors of, specifically with me, prostitution, being a whore, letting, basically trafficking me, taking images, videos and things like that, and then passing them around the neighborhood and telling people that that's what I am, when it was actually done without my knowledge and under mind control. So basically, you can have a group of people trying to control you and keep you into this archetype. And I'm realizing now how controlled my environment is. Literally, the moon is controlled outside of my house. I mean, they're trying to control the celestial realm, the nature's celestial realm around my surroundings. So I'm finding that they tend to do this most with the former Aphrodites transitioning into the archetype of Athena, into the warrior goddess. And I would say it's too late for a lot of us, as far as them trying to change us back, because we are what we are. We flipped archetypes and now we can't be controlled. I mean, they can physically control my environment. They do that by, what they used to, well, I would leave, I would go to the store and come back and one of my dogs would be limping, or they would be poisoned, or they would mess with the puppies a lot. They would drug my food. They would do, the usual thing that targets do, but mine was on an extreme level. Not that anyone else's is worse, but when you literally have an entire simulation, most of the neighbors participating, literally a dome above your house of satellites and all kinds of things just waiting to zap you if you get out of line. But you guys know I like, I take a kick in, but it's, I get messed up by those things, but I keep going. Why? Because I'm the warrior goddess. Yeah. And I no longer have, I no longer feel a need to seek male attention, to, please the male, and the daddy issues have been healed. Yeah. So, but I'm not like one of them cuckoo feminists either, though. I mean, that's actually the Lilith archetype. Those extreme feminists. That's the Lilith sisterhood, which is Pandora in the Greek. And yeah, so it's been very interesting. So I couldn't believe I caught that. I'm going to get this over to Jan, because I absolutely love her work. She's very unorthodox in how she reports things, but she's spot on. She's totally right about everything. So I don't know if she necessarily knows about about the archetypes, because she's very much an Athena archetype. And I would almost bet that in her younger years, like most of us, because most of us have had this done, the beginning processes of it done by our boyfriends or husbands, or generally the male in our life, because we'd respond better to the males than the females in our earlier years, because of the Aphrodite archetype, wanting to please a man, or being easily manipulated through sex. So generally, our greatest awakening was when our spouses turned on us and started acting like, Hades from the underworld. And then all of a sudden we were Persephone for a while, and it's, but there's definitely, I tend to find that what they do is, when you're moving from the Aphrodite archetype into the Athena archetype, they tend to put you into the underworld as Persephone in between, as a way of managing the woman that's coming into her power. I don't necessarily know what it is with the guy targets, though. I'm not sure. I have to study a little bit more into that, but I know that it goes from Aphrodite down to Persephone, because all of a sudden the spouse or husband or whoever put us into the targeting program, and generally the women that go from Aphrodite to Athena can pinpoint what happened in the marriage or the relationship, and all of a sudden there was a change, and he became like the Prince of Darkness, and then we were like basically held captive by this this mass gaslighting insanity. And so I'm now, as I say it out loud, there is a transition. So what they're trying to do also is just keep us in the Persephone, so we can't transition into Athena. But it's going to happen regardless, because any person who is of that natural archetype anyway the fire is going to refine them. The fire of being in hell in the underworld is gonna like when Jesus went through the underworld and had to ascend or descend down to hell and then ascend back up to heaven. What is going on? They said this content no longer exists. I'm sure that they don't want me talking about this, because I'm figuring out the whole ritual system, because this is really what it is. It's a big stage play. And I don't have coffee in me now. I'm just doing my big old thing of apple juice. And so now I'm finding out. So when we become untouchable in the Athena archetype, we can no longer be messed with, because we are literally, it's almost like an ascension process. Not that I believe that fallen gods and fallen angels, and because I know what the gods and goddesses were. They had a very tumultuous, crazy life, but this is the system that we live in, and it's the system that they run their rituals on. And until you realize that this targeting is actually it's a ritual. It's a multi-concurring ritual with different archetypes of people. That's another reason too why they keep us so isolated amongst each other, because we have to stay in our role. And then what they do is they introduce perps or other targets or other people in our lives who are part of the storyline. Because it's amazing how I know with my warrior goddess females that have, specifically exposed sex trafficking and all that kind of stuff. We all have the same story on the same timeline, basically. Some of us didn't realize it until later, some way earlier. But yeah. This is fascinating. This is really fascinating. Okay, this had nothing to do with the moon simulator or the gallbladder cleanse, and you know that I just kind of um, get into things. But now when I meet people, I try to figure out their archetype, and then I look up the history of the god and goddess that I am now being introduced with. And I wouldn't have known this if I hadn't run into Vulcan, into the literal physical embodiment of Vulcan, Patrick White. That man even looks like Vulcan. Everything that he does, our entire relationship was Vulcan and Aphrodite, Vulcan / Athena, in different times and different aspects. It was pretty amazing. And then as I looked up the history of things that were going on, and just who Vulcan was and who Aphrodite was and who Athena was, and then Aphrodite and Athena together, what was their relationship like? And then I found out about the relationship literally within myself. Yeah. And Persephone in the middle, I mean, literally in the middle. It's pretty wild. But yeah, I get into some pretty deep aspects of the ritual behind targeting. Because really this is the stuff that nobody knows about. Some of us have figured it out, but watch Cabin in the Woods, and it's funny. I've seen that movie a million times, and and I understood the archetypes of everybody and how they were assigned archetypes, but I had never come into like, holy cow, this is really happening. It's funny. It's so funny. So I don't know. I think I figured it out. And it's funny because I have some women in my life now here on Facebook that I believe have moved into the Athena archetype, and they're the generation before me, and these women are totally kick-ass. They have a lot of Aries energy about them, but I'm not like the young ones now where I don't have respect for my elders. You know what I mean? And I totally respect these women, and I watch what they went through, and they paved the way for my generation to expose this stuff. And it's amazing how I watch all of this occur. It's wild. I don't know. As I say things out loud, things just kind of, oh, wait, yeah, that makes more sense. So I find that the women that I most get along with are the ones that have transitioned into the Athena. And the ones that I get along with least are the Aphrodite, the young nitwits that are, I'm a goddess, we can all be a goddess, and they don't understand, that just because you tell fortunes and open your legs, you're not wise. I mean, I used to do that. There are times in my life I had no business telling anyone anything about how to run their life. But I was good at foretelling the future. I've always been good at like stone cold good about predicting the future. So that's why I was always popular as a psychic, because I'm like a futurist. That's what I do. So yeah. Like I can't, like if you have like the color green in your head or blue or whatever, I don't know what the hell you're thinking. I have no idea what color you have in your head. But I can tell you, I can basically time jump into old energies and tell you exactly what was going on, who, what, where, when, why, what they were feeling, and I can do it into the future. And so my skill set is a little bit different than other people's, in the fact that I literally am like water and can jump in to bodies and jump into energy fields and timelines and things, and actually see everything that was going on and become each person and what they were feeling and seeing and all that. And I do believe that that's some form of time travel or multi-dimensional travel of some sort. But literally, while I'm here, pop, go. But I could still be talking to you and like, you know, and like somewhere else for a minute, just popping in, checking the energy, scouting it all, coming back and giving you the message. I mean, it's weird. But I've been doing it my whole life, so but yeah. So, but I think that's part of the program that I was trained in. It's remote viewing, but my remote viewing is not it's way different than how they do it in the government. My remote viewing is I just literally pop over and you're not feeling well, you don't know what's wrong, let me hop your body. Oh, right there, that's what's wrong. Hop out. It's funny. I think that might be why I'm a little bit dangerous to people. And that's also why I know the perps so well. Because they would call me for psychic readings, you know, for at least a year before they took everything over. And I would know who they were almost immediately, but I could hop and see how they thought and how they were and what they are. Now I can profile them in a minute. We have hives of them in the TI community, little hives of these things. And but it's almost hard to explain to people, like, hey, this whole group is bad, even though they're running, you know, like a lot of, you know, positive things. They're bad. Like, so anyway, well, I'm done. I'm gonna finish my I got off on a tangent. So apparently there's something about the archetypes and how they all work. But I'm going to make the video real quick of the moon simulator and like right now. And did you hear the noise on the windows back there? That was directed energy. So I'm going to focus on transitioning out of Persephone into Athena and just, you know, try to end this shit. Because I'm tired. I'm done with being stalked and followed and bombarded all the time by these psychopathic rapist nut jobs. You know, methamphetamine, crack addicted weirdos that just, you know, and even if I did flip back into the Aphrodite archetype, it's definitely not by inspiration of those creeps. Which I would never do. But because I just have nothing in common with her anymore. But there was a thing, a meme I saw online that had to do with, ignore my nails. Once again, I'm testing nail polishes to see what one I want to wear. So there was a meme that said every trial in your life or every level in your life is going to require a new version of you. And I think that might be exactly what we're talking about here. Who knows? Very weird. Or I'm just so knee deep in this freaking stage play that I live in that for 4 years straight, that actually I've been a hard target since 2008. And prior than that, I was being handled by different versions of Aries, you know, of Mars, Aries god. Very volatile kind of males that had, you know, horrendous temperaments and, you know, or narcissists even. I was, that wasn't good. But yeah, so I don't know, guys. Well, um, I'm gonna document my my gallbladder cleanse and how that goes after I drink this big old thing of juice. So, which is exciting. All right. Well, I'm gonna go. Good morning. It's 9:24 a.m. here. Yay. All right. Bye, guys.